Greetings, welcome, and thank you for clicking. I'm Christian of Standing Stones Healing Company, encouraging your journey with Reiki, card reading, and coaching for life's changes, challenges, and transitions. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Ask the Stones, offering spiritual guidance and encouragement for life's challenging questions. Greetings, welcome, and thanks for joining me for this episode of Ask the Stones. This week's question comes from Stephanie. I got a tarot deck 2 months ago and am reading for myself every day trying to get better, but the cards are giving me mixed messages. I also did the Celtic cross for a couple of my friends and it didn't make sense. Help! What am I doing wrong? Well, Stephanie, thank you for this question. I really appreciate your question and the opportunity to talk about cards. I actually really enjoy talking about card reading, so thanks for this opportunity. So, as far as your card reading challenges, first I want to say welcome to the exciting world of card reading. It is a wonderful pursuit, a wonderful endeavor, a great way to deepen your spirituality, to connect with your guides, and to serve as a conduit, a channel for messages, not only for yourself, but for others as well, if you so choose to wish. If you so choose to read for others, if you so wish, and it seems as though you do. So great, Stephanie. Welcome. It is wonderful that you are embarking upon this journey. So as far as your challenges and concerns, first, I'm going to say this is going to sound counterintuitive. You're reading every day, you're trying, you're practicing. My first recommendation for you is to stop reading. Now, I don't actually mean stop reading, Stephanie. What I'm saying is stop reading so much. So you are very enthusiastic about your card reading, and this is excellent. This is wonderful. I do not mean to dampen your enthusiasm or to squelch your passion. I don't mean to stomp on the flame of your burning passion for your card reading. No way. But one thing that is easy for us to do when we get really fired up about card reading is to do it too frequently. When we read cards every day, it is very common that we can get mixed messages, that we can have a challenge interpreting the messages because there are just so many messages. I really want to encourage you to just take a step back for a minute from the cards. So, Stephanie, put the cards down and take a step back. Because what I want to encourage you to do is to read less frequently. It's almost like the cards need a chance to marinate. The messages need an opportunity to stew, to marinate. And when you read every day, you are getting so many messages that you're not allowing the messages that you do get to percolate, and you're not allowing them to sink in, so that you are kind of heaving messages on top of messages without an opportunity to really reflect on the messages and allow them to sink in. You know, it's almost like you are tuning into so many radio stations and listening to so many songs that you're not giving yourself the opportunity to learn the lyrics or the tune of any one song because you're listening to so many of them. So, Stephanie, I really want to encourage you to slow down on your readings and to not read so frequently. This will allow the messages to sink in. So you're reading right now every day. I guess I have some questions for you. So if we were having a conversation about this, Stephanie, if I were coaching you through your card reading experience, I would have some questions for you and we'd be able to have a dialogue, a conversation about it. But some of my questions would be, when you say you're reading every day, what does that look like? So how does that go for you? So what is your process? How are you pulling the cards out? How are you pulling them? When I say how are you pulling them out, I mean how are you getting them out? Where are you sitting? What does that ritual look like? Because it is a ritual. And creating it into a special ritual can really help to give the cards respect and to give them space in our lives and to give them a place of honor. So what does that look like when you get the cards out, when you sit down, the place where you read them? What does that look like? When you shuffle the cards or pull the cards, maybe you're not shuffling, maybe you're just drawing them straight out. What does that look like? What kind of ways are you reading? Are you just pulling cards out for your daily readings, or are you doing a Celtic cross every single day? What kinds of questions are you asking? Are you asking questions? So I know I'm asking a lot of questions right now, Stephanie, but these are the kinds of things that I would be curious to know about your card reading practice, because those questions are going to help to get at the way in which you are approaching card reading and the ways in which you may want to consider making some changes in order to help you get more clarity. At the heart of this question is that you feel you are being challenged with clarity. The cards are not giving you clarity. So you're getting mixed messages from the cards in a daily reading. The cards aren't making sense to you when you are doing Celtic cross readings for your friends. And so what it really comes down to is a challenge with clarity. And when we are challenged with clarity in the card reading, which, by the way, Stephanie, this is the most challenging challenge that people have. The greatest challenge that people have with card reading is one of clarity and not being able to understand the messages. That's all about clarity. This is the most common challenge. I will say that anytime there is a challenge with clarity, it is not the cards. Anytime there is a challenge with clarity, it does not have to do with the cards. It is always the card reader. Because, Stephanie, here's why. The cards are always the cards. In a tarot deck, you have, 78 cards? Those cards are always the same. They don't change. Now, from deck to deck, there can be different cards. So one deck might have a card named one thing and another deck might call it something slightly different. That's all okay. But what I mean, Stephanie, is that in any deck, the cards themselves are not changing. The cards are static. Those are always the same. So in my tarot deck, it always has the same cards. They always look the same. So those don't change. The cards never change. What changes is the way in which you approach the cards, the way in which you read the cards, the messages that you receive from the cards. You are the thing that changes. And so the cards are never the challenge. It's the card reader that is having the challenge. So Stephanie, when you received mixed messages from the cards, it is not because of the cards. Because the cards do not magically change. I'm holding my tarot deck right now. If I open up the pouch and I pull out the Magician. The Magician looks the same every single time I pull out the card. The Magician in this deck is never going to change. I believe in magic, but I don't believe in that much magic that if I pull out the Magician, that the Magician is going to be a completely different card from what it was the last time I pulled it out. It's always going to be the same card. And that's the case with the whole deck, Stephanie. The whole deck is always the same. So if the cards are not changing, then what is changing? If the cards are always the same, then what is the source of the lack of clarity? It's with the reader. Now, this does not mean that there's something wrong with you. So if the deck isn't the problem and there's nothing wrong with the deck, then you may say, oh my gosh, there's something wrong with me. I'm a problem. I'm the problem. No, Stephanie, I don't think you're a problem either. I think that we as human beings are multi-layered. We come to the world with our own set of glasses, our own ways of viewing the world, and we are dynamic beings that change, which means that when we approach card reading, we are approaching it as dynamic, ever-changing beings. So that when we pull the cards, when I pull the Magician, it may mean one thing at one time, but it may mean something different at another time that I pull it. And when I say the meaning, I don't mean the divinatory meaning of the Magician. You know, you pull out your little book that comes with the deck, and this is what it says to you that the Magician means. What I mean is our interpretation, our reading of it, the intuitive messages that come from it. Now, this is all a little bit more advanced, Stephanie, maybe. Yeah. So what I'm going to recommend for you right now with your card reading challenges is to first recognize that this is a normal thing to have happen. The challenge that you are experiencing with clarity is the number one challenge that new readers experience. And it is not an uncommon thing to happen even when you've been reading for a long time. So, in other words, you are normal. Congratulations. Great. We know that. Wonderful. So that is typical, and I want to encourage you to know that there's nothing wrong with you, and there's nothing wrong with you as a reader. If there is anything wrong, quote, wrong that you are doing, Stephanie, it's just that you're reading too much. You know, we think that the more we do something, the more we practice something, the better we get at it. But it is different with card reading. We can read it too much. We can read too much. We can overload our card reading circuits by reading too frequently. And it's because of all of those messages that we're getting that we're not allowing to sink in and that we're not reflecting on. A good card reading is something that we are really able to sit with and that reveals itself in layers. And this is something that the cards really do. Whether it's a tarot deck, which is always multi-layered in meaning, or it's any other kind of deck, they are always revealing things to us on multiple levels, and it can take time for their messages to sink in. So, Stephanie, I think that with your frequent readings, it's just not allowing the messages to sink in and for you to really be able to reflect on them and to allow them to marinate and percolate. So definitely I want to encourage you to read less frequently. So to take that daily reading, and you may want to turn it into a weekly reading, or maybe even a couple of times a week. But honestly, Stephanie, I wouldn't recommend reading any more than that, because my thought is, I'm wondering, what kinds of questions you are asking in your readings, or if you're not asking questions and just doing general readings. But when we read cards, we're looking for information. We're looking for perspectives, guidance, thoughts. So when we read cards, we're coming to it with a purpose. And so my question for you would be, what is your purpose in reading every day? What information are you trying to discover? What guidance are you trying to get? And what guidance is it that you feel that you need to have it every single day from the cards and from your guides? So I would wonder why every day in terms of the questions, the guidance that you are seeking, and is that something that you need to be doing every day? And is that something that really requires seeking messages on every day? Like, let's say, for instance, Stephanie, that whenever you read every day, maybe you're looking for guidance on things to look out for the day, or things to consider. Well, is that something that you really need a full reading on? So like, if you are doing a Celtic cross every day, I know you don't say that, Stephanie. I don't know what kind of reading you might be doing every day, but is that the kind of thing where you need a Celtic cross every day for? No, the Celtic cross is a pretty involved spread. I would probably say that for just some encouragement for your day, probably doing a Celtic cross every day is going to feel like too much. It's going to feel like a lot of information, a lot of messages. And a Celtic cross is definitely something that you wouldn't want to do. Well, I would not advise anyone to do every day. What you do with your cards is completely up to you, Stephanie. There is someone out there who does a Celtic cross for themselves every single day, and they swear by it, and that's okay. I wouldn't advise it, but again, that's me, and that's how I read. I will say, though, Stephanie, for a new reader, I think reading every day, especially something like a Celtic cross, can really be very overwhelming. So if it is the kind of thing where you're saying, well, I'm just looking for some guidance, some things to think about, or some encouragement each day, you could just pull a single card. Just take one card, pull it out of the deck, take a look at it, things that you might want to think about and consider for the day. Okay, piece of cake. But to do any kind of a full reading every day, I think is a bit much, Stephanie. So I am going to encourage you to step back from reading every single day. Again, a card a day, okay, no big deal. But a full reading every day, that's a bit much, especially as a new reader. As a new reader, I think a good thing to shoot for would be maybe reading every week, once a week for yourself, and maybe no more than that. Again, a Celtic cross is that is a very in-depth reading. And to be doing one of those every week is still kind of in-depth, I think, and still a bit much. But if you do choose to do so, to make sure that you are approaching it knowing what you want to get out of it. So that's also a key with readings. What is it that you want to get out of the reading? Why are you conducting the reading? Why now? What is it that you want to learn? What are some new things that you would like to discover? Do you have a specific question that you are asking, or a specific topic you are seeking information on? So that's important to consider as well. Oftentimes when we have trouble with the clarity in a reading, it's because we're asking, I don't want to say we're asking the wrong questions. We're not asking in the best way. So I do encourage to ask questions that are not yes or no questions. Yes or no questions for readings are really challenging because the cards rarely ever say in them yes or no. And like I said, there are so many layers to the cards and the information that they provide. And layers do not mesh well with yes or no. It's usually a yes, but maybe, but you might want to consider this and think about this, so it may be no, except, it's that kind of a thing. So there's a lot of ambiguity, a lot of layers. So the way in which you ask the questions or seek information can contribute to that lack of clarity. So I encourage you in the questions that you ask to move away from the yes or no. So for instance, let's say that you're doing a Celtic cross for a friend who is wondering about their love life. This is so common with card reading, by the way. I think it's like the number one question for card reading. Should I dump my boyfriend, or should I date this guy, or is this guy a good guy, or am I supposed to marry this woman? Whatever. Those are the kinds of questions that are so frequent with card reading. Everybody wants to know about love. So rather than asking the question, should I marry my fiance? To maybe phrase it in terms of, I would like guidance on my love life. And then see what comes out of the cards. So you're not putting the pressure on the cards to be the definitive answer on something. Because nothing is ever a definitive answer on anything. So like Stephanie, my encouragement for you in this answer is not the definitive answer on card reading. That's for sure. And you're going to have people who disagree with me, and they are no less right or wrong. There are just so many ways of looking at any topic and so many ways of answering any question. And so it's the same way with any card reading. One card reading is not the definitive answer on anything. So there is no card reading out there that can tell you, should you marry your fiance, yes or no, and that's the answer. But rather, the best card readings offer you things to consider, offer you guidance, and offer you things to think about as you make the decision, as you determine whether or not to marry your fiance. So to ask yes and no questions of the cards is putting too much pressure on the cards, because life is not a simple yes or no. There are so many shades of gray, so much black, so much gray. Beside the black and white, there's no black and white. It's all just so ambiguous oftentimes. This is another challenge with card reading, is that I think so frequently we as human beings have a hard time with ambiguity. We have a hard time with no clear answer. And we often want a yes or a no. We want the black and the white. And we often don't feel comfortable with shades of gray. And I think that one of the challenges we can often have with card reading is wanting that clear yes or no. And so I think that part of the challenge with the lack of clarity in the cards is just a lack of discomfort that we often have with ambiguity. So Stephanie, I want to encourage you, along with reading less frequently, changing the ways in which you ask questions, is to maybe just get comfortable with ambiguity and get comfortable with not having clear answers, and allowing the information that the cards present to be something that you reflect on and use to inform your thinking, but not rather as the definitive answer on anything. So when you do a Celtic cross for your friend, and your friend wants to know, do I stay with my boyfriend or do I dump him? Maybe helping your friend to understand that the cards are not going to say yes or no. They're going to give you things to think about, things to consider, and there are plenty of other things that can and frankly should inform your decision on that. So the cards are not the single answer. They just provide things for us to consider, to think about, and new perspectives. That's really what cards do at their core. So I encourage that as well. Stephanie, what else do I encourage for your card readings? I encourage approaching your cards with respect. So I know that you're feeling some frustration right now. I mean, that might not be the word that you would use, Stephanie. So I don't mean to put words into your mouth on how you're feeling. But you may be feeling some frustration. Oh, these cards, why can't I get this right? Oh, these don't make any sense. What's the problem? Oh, what's wrong with me? What's wrong with the cards? So you may be feeling some frustration. I want to encourage you to bring respect and honor into it. So I want to encourage you to treat your cards with respect, treat them with honor, treat them as a valued and valuable and trusted tool. Because that's really what cards are. They are a tool for us to learn new things, to gain new insights. And so I want to encourage you to treat your cards with respect. Now, I'm not saying you're not already doing that, Stephanie. You may very well already be doing that. But if you're not, I want to encourage that. And I want to encourage you to get to know your cards, to take them out, to shuffle through them, to look at each one, to study each one, to admire each one. You know, so many card decks have such gorgeous artwork. And I think that it is so nice for us to just say thank you for that gorgeous artwork and to just reflect on that and to admire that, to pull out each card and to study it and look at it just as a piece of art itself, because cards so frequently are just a work of art, each individual card. So you have a whole little pack of beautiful art in your hands to admire and to appreciate. And so I want to encourage you to get out each card. Maybe rather than reading for yourself each day, Stephanie, you may just want to take out one card each day and just admire its artwork and not look to it for messages for the day, but just look to it as something to appreciate and enjoy each day as a work of art. I think that might be a wonderful thing to do. You know, the card makers have put a lot of work into the deck. They've put a lot of their thought, their soul, their talent and effort into each deck, each and every single card. And so let's honor and value the card creators' work by just thinking about it, looking at it, reflecting on it, and saying thanks to the creator for these beautiful decks that allow us to pass on messages. So just bringing honor and appreciation to each card, I think, can be really helpful too. You'll want to create a connection with your deck, however that means to you. So if you have not already, Stephanie, I might encourage some kind of special ritual welcoming the deck into your life. And that can look however it means to you. That is so personal. Do whatever feels right to you, Stephanie, in honoring that deck and creating a ritual to bring it into your life and to bring it into use as a beautiful tool. So definitely find some way to conduct some ritual to honor your cards and welcome them in and thank them, and to bring them into your spiritual experience. Creating a connection with your cards is going to allow you to have a deeper bond with them, which will allow you to, oftentimes, will allow you to have an easier time reading them and greater clarity when you read them. So, any ways in which you might want to create connections with your cards are going to be helpful and beneficial. And when I say creating a connection, I don't just mean reading, because, again, there are ways to really value and appreciate our cards that does not mean that we are reading them all of the time. So let's think about another kind of tool, a hammer. Very plain kind of tool, right? What do we do with a hammer? We use it to nail in nails. We can also use it to pry nails out. But the hammering of nails is not the only way to admire a hammer. So we are not just connecting with the hammer when we hammer nails. We can connect with the hammer by just picking it up, feeling the handle, admiring its shape, feeling its heft in our hand, swinging it around. Just all kinds of ways of connecting with the hammer that don't have anything to do with the way in which a hammer is typically used. And that will allow us to forge a bond with our hammer so that when it comes to hammering in the nails, we can have a greater appreciation of all of the hammer's aspects, all of its beauty, all of its amazingness, all of its simplicity, all of its usefulness. So it's the same with our cards. Connect with those cards in ways that are not using the cards for their card reading purpose, that tool that they are. Connect with them in other kinds of ways. So love those cards, value and appreciate them, to create a deeper connection with them so that when you read, the cards themselves are not just something that you nail nails into a board with. These are something that you value and appreciate. So I encourage that as well. Some other ways that you can create connections, that you can improve the clarity with the cards. Your deck most likely came with a book. You can definitely read that book. Look through it, get some insights. That's another wonderful way to connect with the cards and to appreciate them and to learn about card reading and reading the tarot. When I read cards, Stephanie, I don't rely on the book, but as a new card reader, I'm going to encourage you to start there and to learn from the book, because yes, you can read without the book. Yes, you don't need the book. Yes, I read without the book. And as a new tarot card reader, I will say, everyone, that if you are brand new to card reading, there are more accessible decks of cards than the tarot. The tarot can be, I think, a little challenging and daunting because there are so many cards, and because they are so multi-layered. So the tarot can be a bit challenging for a new reader. Now, Stephanie, if you are brand new to card reading, period, you have not made a mistake by getting a tarot deck at all. So, definitely don't think, oh no, I should not have started with the tarot deck. No, that's absolutely okay. And if you feel called to the tarot deck, wonderful. And I encourage, rather than diving headfirst into the pool, to dip in your toes and start that way. So if you are reading every day and reading the Celtic Cross for your friends, that is diving head first. As a brand new reader, I'm just going to encourage dipping in that toe first. And the way that you do that is to just start creating a connection with your cards, and to honor your cards and value them and get to know the cards before diving headfirst doing things like Celtic Cross readings. Now, again, Stephanie, you haven't done anything wrong. So don't think that this is a bad thing that you have started diving into the deep end. It just may be why you're feeling a bit underwater. It just may be why you're feeling like you're drowning a little bit in all of the messages. So I'm going to encourage you, get out of the pool, towel off a little bit, sit at the water's edge, and just stick your foot in and just feel the water against your foot. Just feel the cards in your hands, quite literally, and how those feel. Start slow. The cards will wait for you. The cards will grow with you. The cards are there for you for your whole life if you so choose. So there is no rush to be swimming the breaststroke and winning gold medals right now. You've got your whole life to explore the full spectrum of all of the gifts of the cards. It really truly is a gift, Stephanie. Card reading really truly is a gift. It is a gift to you, and it is a gift to others. And so approaching it from that standpoint of respect and an unfolding, and having your whole life ahead of you to explore all of the nuance, all of the facets, all of the amazingness that the cards have to offer is just really incredible when you think about it. So Stephanie, there's no rush. Slow down. Slow down. There's no rush on any of this. Being a really good card reader is a thing that takes time. So being a card reader who, in addition to being able to read cards and interpret cards, to receive intuitive messages from your guides from the cards, is something that takes time, and that cannot be rushed. So I want to encourage you to slow down and take your time with this. It is an unfolding, and it will unfold in its own time. And so there's no rush here, Stephanie. It's okay. Slow down with the card reading. I think that means I want to encourage you to stop reading every day, to read less frequently, to admire and appreciate and honor your cards, to connect and bond with them. Maybe make a nice pouch for them rather than the box that they come in. And to just really allow them to speak to you. Oftentimes when we read cards and we're frustrated by the messages that we're not getting out of them, it's because we're trying to pull things out of the cards rather than allowing them to reveal things to us. So, Stephanie, rather than trying to pull messages out of the cards every day, I want to encourage you to listen and to allow the cards to reveal things to you. Oh, Stephanie, there's so much to say about card reading, and there's no way that I can say it all in one answer. As a matter of fact, I did have another card reading question months ago. I'm going to put that Ask the Stones episode in the notes so that you can listen to that one too, because that was a different kind of question. I talk about some different things. Some of the information may be the same because, card reading, there are plenty of things to say about it. It is just so multifaceted. And I could talk all day about card reading. I'd love to talk all day about card reading. One other thing that you may want to consider, Stephanie, is taking a class. That is something that you may want to do. Of course, you do not have to do that, but it may be something that you might like to do to get some other perspectives and information on card reading. I don't currently teach a card reading class. I don't currently. Maybe I will in the future. Maybe I should teach a card reading class. I love talking about card reading so much. Maybe I should read a class or teach a class. Thanks, Stephanie, for that thought. Maybe I'll have to create a card reading class. Let me know if that would be something, anyone that you would be interested in, a card reading class, and maybe I'll put one together if people are interested in a card reading class. But Stephanie, it is something that the cards are there to reveal multiple layers to you throughout your whole life. It is a journey. Card reading is a journey, and it's not a sprint. It's a meandering walk for your whole life, including pausing, sitting down, thinking, contemplating, and then picking them back up. That happens too. Just to give you an idea for me and what I do with my card reading, I read for myself personally once a month consistently on the full moon, and I have done this for years, where I will pull cards for myself on the full moon. I will do a reading for myself at special occasions. So I do have my own spread that I have created. I don't use the Celtic Cross. It's a nice spread. I have nothing against it, so there's nothing wrong with the Celtic Cross. I've just created my own spread that I use. The Cosmic Revelation. It's a 7-card reading from the tarot deck, from multiple decks, including the tarot deck that I use. And so I'll do a Cosmic Revelation reading for myself on special occasions like New Year's or my birthday, or a time when I'm maybe searching for some additional insights and clarity beyond my full moon reading. And then, of course, my choose one of 3 card reading that I do every month, I pick one of those numbers too. So I participate in that and get messages from that as well. So I do not read for myself every day. I may sometimes pull a card for myself each day. I have one particular deck that's actually a newer deck that I'll pull a card from that for myself more frequently, just as I get to know that deck. I don't have it in use yet because I am getting to know that deck and appreciating that deck and learning from that deck and seeing how I resonate with that deck and how it feels. I've actually had that deck for several months and have not put it into use with others yet, or into readings yet, because I'm getting to know it. It's kind of like a horse, getting to know a horse, learning a horse, and really learning a horse before you take it into competition. It's that kind of a thing. So I will pull a card from that deck each day, just quickly as a brief see. What do I see? What am I getting from it? And that's only because of having that new deck. Otherwise, I usually don't pull a card for myself every single day. A couple of times a week, maybe I'll pull one here and there, but nothing with consistency. So I do encourage you to step back from that and maybe create some kind of structure around your reading, Stephanie, in terms of when you do it, why you do it, the purpose behind it. Ritualize it to give it greater meaning. And then, of course, I firmly believe that card reading is all about what you do outside of card reading that helps you to be a better card reader. So the meditation, the gratitude, the compassion, the kindness, raising your vibration, all of those things that you do outside of card reading that help you to create a deeper connection with your spirit guides and with the divine, that really help you to be a better card reader and to access that information. The cards serve as a focal point, really. They help us to get information, and they're a way for our guides to communicate with us, but they are not the only way for guides to communicate with us. And so they are a tool. They are a way for us to receive information. So just recognizing that the cards are a way for our guides to communicate with us and then honoring it in that way. Well, I've just pulled a tarot card for you for your card reading journey, Stephanie, and this card did pop out when I shuffle. Usually I have a card that pops out from that shuffling that is the card to be read. Sometimes it's more than one. But for your card reading journey, Stephanie, very clearly from the tarot deck has popped out the 10 of Pentacles. And what I'm getting from this card, now I'll describe it to you. It is a couple approaching a castle. The drawbridge is open. There is light at the entrance to the castle. And it's very much a feeling here, a message of homecoming. So welcome home, Stephanie. Welcome home. Very much a feeling of homecoming for you, of coming to a spiritual home. I think that for you, card reading is going to be a very rewarding, very empowering, very soulful kind of experience. Really a spiritual home for you. It may not feel like that right now, Stephanie, with all of the uncertain messages, the mixed messages, the ambiguity, your challenges with it right now. But what I'm getting here is very much a sense of welcome home, Stephanie, welcome home. And I want to encourage you to think of the card reading in this kind of way, almost like a refuge, a cozy home that you can come to after a long journey and get peace and rest, energy and restoration. That's really what I'm picking up. And I just had, so fascinatingly, so interestingly, I just had the image of a plant pop up, specifically the image of a fern. And so almost like a plant that will grow. Water it, care for it, nurture it. This is a fern that is going to grow and flourish and be beautiful and just provide lots of nourishment as you nourish it. So I want to encourage that. Yep, also just got the image, Stephanie, of an apple tree. Think of it this way. An apple tree, if we want apples from that apple tree, we have to take care of the tree. As a matter of fact, I have an apple tree that I'm growing right now in a pot. that I've grown from seed. And that apple tree now is, it's about 1.5 feet tall in the pot. And if I want apples from that tree someday, I have to water it today. If I want that tree to grow and flourish, I have to take care of it now. Someday, that tree will nourish me. Someday, it will provide shade. It will provide apples. It will provide a refuge. It will nourish me. But first, I have to nourish it. So, Stephanie, nourish that card reading experience now. It will nourish you someday. I'm going to pull one more card for you, Stephanie. Let's see what we have. I want to pull from the Archangel deck, and let's see what guidance the angels might have for your card reading journey. You know, I want to say for my card reading journey, I've been reading cards for 9 years, consistently. Actually, yes, it has been 9 years, period. I was not reading cards prior to 9 years. So I've been reading cards for 9 years. I started with the Celtic Dragon Tarot, reading for myself now and again. A couple of years into that, I started consistently reading on the full moons. I took a couple of card reading classes, one-day workshops kind of things, and got some free decks along with signing up for those card reading workshops. One of those free decks I got is the Archangel deck, which I have just drawn from, actually, which has just popped a card out for you, Stephanie. And so I have taken some classes and really enjoyed those. Learned some things, learned some spreads, which I don't use, but I might in the future, who knows. And also got the opportunity to read cards for other people and to just create a connection with cards and learn about card reading and meet other like-minded people. So you may very well want to take a card reading class. I don't discourage that at all. So let me grab this card that has fallen. Oh, fascinating. Wonderful. I love it, Stephanie. So the Archangel card that has popped out for you very clearly, very strongly, very insistently is Life Review. Archangel Jeremiah says, take inventory of your life and resolve to change or heal anything that is unbalanced. Yeah, thank you, Jeremiah. So some might say, Stephanie, that your challenges with card reading have to do with a lack of balance, have to do with blocked chakras, have to do with all kinds of things. That all may have an impact. And it all may be multiple things. I think, though, before saying that, you're blocked, your chakras are blocked, Stephanie, and that's why you're having trouble reading, I think it's really, let's first just start with slowing down the card reading and dip in the toe, get out of the pool, towel off, put the foot in the water before continuing to dive. But I think this is a wonderful card to consider right now, this idea of a life review for your card reading. And what I'm getting from this is not so much a life review, life with a capital L, but maybe rather the life of your card reading journey. So what led you to this point, Stephanie? How did you get to where you are? What first got you interested in card reading? What got you to decide to go with the tarot? What made you choose the particular deck that you chose? So to sit down and really reflect on all of those things, this is another great way to connect with your cards and to connect with the journey of card reading. So reflect upon that journey. Yeah, you've got a long journey ahead of you, but it is always helpful to reflect upon the journey wherever you are in the journey. So just because your journey's just beginning doesn't mean you can't reflect upon that journey and consider how you've gotten to where you are and why. So take a step back, Stephanie, and maybe just reflect on your card reading experience thus far. I think that's a great recommendation. Thank you, angels, for that. Thank you, Stephanie, for this question. Again, I could just keep talking for hours and hours about card reading. I enjoy it so much. I love it. It truly is an honor. One final thing, Stephanie. When you read for yourself and when you read for others, especially when you read for others, I want to encourage you to recognize that it is a true honor to do so. It is a true honor to bring people messages, perspectives, insights. And so I really want to encourage you to approach card reading from that standpoint, to not approach it from a place of frustration and, oh my gosh, what are they going to say now? What am I going to not understand now? But rather to approach card reading from a true place of honor, because it is a true honor to read for anyone, no matter who that is, including Stephanie, for yourself. So I want to encourage you to bring some real honor and respect to this experience and real honor for each and every person that you read for each and every time. So thank you, Stephanie, so much. I send you blessings. I send you best wishes for your card reading journey. And I send blessings and best wishes to all of us, whether we read cards or not, for our journey. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Ask the Stones. If you have a question for Ask the Stones, please send me an email at christian@standingstoneshealing.com. or connect with me on Facebook at Standing Stones Healing. Thank you, and best wishes for your journey.